So let's start by creating a local WordPress development environment. We can use local by Flywheel for that. If you don't have yet this program, just come here to local.p.com and click to download for free. Then you'll be prompted to write a few questions like your name and email, but then just hit get it now and you should be able to download it. Then when you open for the first time and you don't have any projects, it will look something like this. I advise you to go to preferences and then at new site and defaults, just add your own email and the domain that will be used for your project. I like using .test because it always works correctly for me and in what folder your WordPress site will be. Then we can just apply it here and create a new site. Let's go with the standard one and let's name it Shortcodes. So you can see that it's using the domain that we selected and the path. You can add any username or password because that's something that only you will have access because it's locally. Then just push add site. Then wait for a few seconds to install it. Cool, and now we have this local WordPress environment for us to start working on it. Now let's start creating our first shortcode. But for that, we need to start our local environment. Let me add my password here. Okay, so let's suppose that we have only the default theme. Let's add a new plugin, a simple plugin, so we can start editing it. So let's name it Shortcode. And let me open in VS Code. It's a code editor that I like. And now let's add shortcodes.php. So when our plugin is active, this will be the same as if we were adding code to the theme functions.php. So feel free to add to a child theme if you want. But just to make learning easier here, let's create a quick plugin. For a quick plugin, we just need the plugin name, and that's it. We have a plugin. Now let me close that and zip. Okay. So now let's go to plugin, add new, upload the new plugin that we have, and click install now. Active plugin, and perfect, we have our new plugin here. And now what I like doing is that instead of editing this shortcode that we uploaded, let's add the shortcodes plugin that is already inside our WordPress file. So let's go here to Go Site folder, App, Public, Content, and this is the shortcode plugin that we uploaded. So let's open the VS Code, okay, and drop this here. Now everything that we added here will change to our local WordPress. So let's put test here and refresh. See? So now we are ready to start developing our first shortcode. Okay, so now let's create our first shortcode. First, let's see where we want to test it out. Let's try this Hello World default post that comes with every default theme. So it's really easy to add shortcuts using the Gutenberg. You just need to search for it, or you can just press enter / and start writing shortcode. Okay, then press enter And the shortcode that we'll initially create, just to understand how shortcode works, is just open curly brackets and let's say test. Okay, so if we update it and see the post, nothing's happening because we haven't created yet the shortcode. So let's do this now. The first thing we need to do is set a function and name it. Let's say test shortcode. You can come with whatever name you want, and then we need to return something. So let's return test. And now, after completing the first function, we need to add a default WordPress function to add shortcode that is called add shortcode. And you need to pass two arguments to the function. The first one is what we'll write for it in the brackets to work. So I want to write tests in this example. And the other argument is just the function that we created above. So now if we refresh the page, we'll see test here. The word test is in this position of the page because if we inspect here, we'll see that there is a paragraph, initial paragraph, but in our shortcode we didn't add any markup. So let's add it now, like this. Later in the course we will learn how to properly add HTML to the shortcode. So after adding this, you see now that it's working okay. And this is the initial approach to write a custom shortcode, and we will advance this concept in the next lessons. Okay, so now let's learn how to add CSS to our shortcode. So first things first, let's create a CSS folder, and inside it let's name shortcodes.css, and let's give it a class of test, and everything in this class will have the color of orange. Okay, so now we need to enqueue this new shortcodes.css file, and for that we need to create a function as well. Let's name it register shortcodes style, and we need to pass two WordPress native functions to make it work. The first one is wp register style, and we need to pass two parameters. The first one is a name that we can create here. Let's name it shortcodes style. That's usually a pattern that I do. I name the CSS file like shortcodes and add dash style to it, and now we need to get the path. And to get the path from a plugin, we can use a function called plugins URL, and inside of it add the path first with a slash, so slash CSS and then shortcode codes.css, and then comma and add file with double dashes like this. So now that we have registered the style, we need to enqueue it with another function, enqueue the style shortcodes style. That's why we need to give a name here, so WordPress know which one to enqueue later, and this is needed for an optimization process that we'll learn in the end of the course. Okay, and after creating this function, we need to add action, and the first argument here will be wp enqueue scripts, and then the name of the function. Let's save it, and then if we refresh the page here, inspect, go to network, and search for CSS, we will see that the shortcode is loading correctly. And now let's test it out. So here let's give a class of test, and it's loading the style of orange correctly. Now, instead of this test simple shortcode, let's try creating a more advanced one, such as a button with custom attributes. So here, instead of test, let's put button with color green and another attribute such as text, and let's put learn more here, and let's save it. Okay, so now as we haven't created yet a shortcode, it will only display like this. So let's create a shortcode here. Function but shortcode will return something, and let's add shortcode button, and the callback will be this function. Okay, so now we want the attributes to be present here. Attributes. And how can we see the attributes? Let's return it so we can better debug it and understand how it works. This var dump function is good in PHP to test things out. So let's try placing the attributes in the var dump function. Okay. Now let's refresh here. And now we can see that there is an array with the color and text attributes, and they have the green and the learn more text. So, for example, let's suppose we want to return the attributes but only the green text. So let's open here brackets and say color. That is the name that we added here. And if we save it here and refresh, it's loading correctly the green string. Okay. So same thing, if we put here text, it should load the learn more string. So you can now start getting an idea how we can create whole sections using the attributes and shortcodes. And we are going to learn in the next lesson how to better write HTML and use the attributes inside our section. Now let's suppose instead of this test shortcode only returning these tests, we want to return some h1 title here and some h2 as well, subtitle. Now it's hard to code this way because it's just one line, and there is an optimal way, a better way to write HTML inside a shortcode, because if we save it here and then change it or add a new one, shortcode test, update it, you'll see it indeed work, but it's not so easy to write. So how can we write the same code in a better way within the shortcode? So first of all, let me copy here, and the structure will be starting with a PHP function called ob_start, and we'll return another PHP function called ob_getClean. And here in the middle we can paste the HTML, but first we need to close PHP here and open it up again here. This way we can see and add the HTML code easier this way, and if we save it, we can see that it's working. So now that we've learned how to create shortcodes, nothing better than go to practice, right? So let's delete both shortcodes and let's create something more challenging, like a button shortcode. So let's start with a function, button shortcode. There will be attributes here. HTML here, and let's add shortcode. The first is the shortcode name, it will be button, and the next, the callback function. Okay? Perfect. So as we learned in the previous lesson, we need to start with a PHP function called ob_start and return ob_getClean. So our button will be an anchor tag. Oh, let's close PHP here and open it up again here. So our button will have href, it will be attributes, let's name it link, and let's copy here to make it easier and faster, and the text will be attribute text. And let's add some style as well. We can add style background color, and let's name it attributes background. Okay, so now let's go to the post, and instead of test, let's add button with the text learn more, the background orange, and the link as a hash only, and update it, and let's see in the front end. Okay, so it's working right now. Let's just put it inside a div because the current theme has some default CSS styles. So if we add it between a div, it should align properly. Okay, it's working. But now let's see if you don't remember that there is this option to add a background color, and save it. It's not going to appear because an error occurred, and this is what I'll talk about in the next lesson. Let's understand the error that we saw in the last lesson, and for that let's use the debug function var dump and the attributes. So instead of removing the background because it's just a style, let's try removing the text now, because the button really needs it to show. Let's update, see that an error occurred already, and let's see here what's happening. So we only have the background and the link attributes, and here it's saying that it's undefined. Okay, so for the shortcode to work, all the attributes must be defined. So how can we predefine and set some defaults for the shortcode? That's what we will learn in this lesson. So let's start by deleting this function here. And to add default to the attributes, first we create a variable, attributes, and it will be equal to this WordPress function called shortcode. That is short for attributes, okay? And here we pass 2 parameters. The first one is an array, and the second one I'll explain later. So let's name all the attributes that we currently have and set defaults to them. Let's open quotes here. In the first one, let's put text, and the default value will be click here. Now we can set a default background to, let's say, green, and a default link to the hash. And the second parameter here, it will be the attributes variable. Okay, so if we set this now and reload, you see that the default click here text is already working. And let's refresh here. Even if you don't have anything at all set here and save it, no error will occur and it will work normally. But we may still change it to learn more, for example, update it, and it will automatically change at the default one if no content was added here, or the custom one if it was added. Now let's start the course project. So let's suppose that our client, as we are freelance developers, WordPress developers, send this prototype and they want to add this section easily in the, let's say it's a call to action and they want to easily add it to any post at all. So the shortcode will be the easiest tool to achieve this. And so here is some dummy content here and at the end too, and this is the section shortcode. So I added some dummy content here, and this is the section shortcode that we are going to code in the next lesson. So we'll start the project like this, and I would really enjoy if you try to do all the prototype layout or any layout at all, just to practice the knowledge, the quick tips and tricks that you learned about shortcode in this course so far. So I would really appreciate if you try and code it yourself and then show me at the end of the course. Thank you, good luck, and see you in the next lesson when we'll code together. Perfect, let's start the project. So I know that we can copy and paste here, but it's a good practice to delete and try to code without looking anywhere else to see if you remember, and the code, like the knowledge is fixed to your mind, let's say like this. Let's create function section shortcode, and it will have attributes. So let's start with ob start HTML here and return get clean. Okay, so our section, let's close and open again here. So our section will be a section, and for styling later, let's give a class of section, and there will be the title attribute, then the subtitle, and also a call to action button. Let's call the attribute button link, because I want the client to be able to change the link and the text. And also the section will have that background image. So let's add style, background image, and let's add an URL with the image. And let's also add the default values for attributes. So as we learned in the previous lesson, attributes equal to this WordPress function shortcode attributes, and we pass two parameters here. The first one will be an array of values, and the second one just the attributes here again. And the first one we have, let's call the image. And what will be the default one? It's, in this case, let's create a folder here, name it images. Okay, and I got from Unsplash these two photos. You may check the author in the description. And how do we get the image that we add inside this folder here? We just need to use the WordPress function plugins URL and then pass the path. It will be /images / the name. Let's name it background just to be easier. And then comma file. Now let's go to the title and let's add ready to join the team. The subtitle will be click the button below and contact us. The button link will be, let's leave it with a hash only now for now, and the button text will be join us. Here you can use both single or double quotes. I just believe it's better to maintain a pattern, but you can also change everything. Here it's a shortcut. I just select and press in my Windows Ctrl D and it will be selecting, and then a single comma here, single quote. And I believe we can already test it out. So, oh, we forgot to add shortcode. Let's name it section, and the callback will be the function. Okay, so after refreshing we can see it's already working, but of course that is not looking pretty well or similar to what we have in the prototype. And now I will copy and paste some CSS code to better style that. So I copied here and I will paste it here. I can remove this test for now. So this is the CS code I wrote for this shortcode, and let me know if you want like further explanation about the CSS, but you can come up with your own style, and that it would be nice to show me in the course project. So after doing that and refreshing, you can see that it's working and it's pretty similar to the prototype. So let's test it out if it's working. If you go to the section here and add button text, for example, and change it to learn more about it. Let's update it. Yep, it's working. Now let's try title 1 and subtitle 1. Okay, it's working. Now let's try adding the image. I'll add this second image here to the media library. And now I can just copy it here and paste as, what's the name that we gave? Oh, just image. So image and update it. Okay, it's working as well. Just a quick observation regarding the last lesson. We are using the default 2023 theme, and it has some, let me close this, it has some default styling. So that's why in the CSS I add this global padding. If we comment out it, remove it, and save it, you see that this padding is added because of the native theme style. So we just need to add this and we'll be able to add full width sections. And another thing that I want to comment about the attributes, let's suppose that the client doesn't want to show this button if there is no URL added to the shortcode. So if, let's remove this just so it's easier to see. So if there is no button link, now it's set to test. So let me just save it here and show you. So you can see it here, it's test. So let's suppose that if there is not a custom parameter here, not a custom attribute, it will remove this button. So what we can do is set the button link default to no. That is similar to false. And then we only show the anchor tag. Let's open PHP here and say if attributes button link, add this here and close it here. So only if this exists and the default is no, so it's false. So only if the client added the button link custom attribute, it will load. So let's test it out. If we refresh, you see that it's gone and no error is happening because there is a default and the default one is false. Now let's learn a bit about optimization. So this shortcode CSS is a style sheet. So it's something that it takes more to load the page. I know it's not that much, but it's just something that's good to keep in mind, that the way we register and enqueue the style, let me show you here. Let me refresh, inspect. If you go to the network here and search for CSS, you can see that the shortcode CSS is being loaded. But as this shortcode can be or not present in the post, so let's copy here and remove and update it. So the shortcode is not present anymore, but if we inspect here the network, you see that the shortcode CSS is being loaded. So it's being loaded without any need, and that's why we register first and then we only enqueue in the section shortcode. Let me show first. Let me paste it here so I don't lose it. Okay, so now we are enqueuing here Okay, let me save it. And if you refresh the page, you see that it's no longer appearing here, it's no longer being loaded. But if we come here and add the shortcode again and update, let's refresh, and now you can see that the style is being correctly loaded. And what happens if we add, let's suppose, 2 shortcodes? And save it. Okay, so 2 sections are being added, and if we inspect it, it's only being loaded once.